How much cash do you really need? This is one of the most confusing questions in personal finance. On one hand, you hear people yelling cash is trash, telling you that every dollar should be invested and working for you. On the other hand, you have folks who hoard cash like they're preparing for the apocalypse, terrified to put their money anywhere else. The truth is, both of these extremes are wrong. Cash isn't a villain, and it's not a treasure to be buried. It has a specific job in your financial life, and when you understand that job, everything else just clicks into place. It becomes the quiet, stable foundation that lets your other assets grow without you having to worry. So, what is that job? Here's the most important thing to remember. Cash is not an investment. I'll say it again. Cash is not an investment. Its purpose isn't to make you rich. Its purpose is to be your financial insurance policy. It's the buffer that protects you from being forced to sell your investments, like stocks or real estate, at the absolute worst possible time. Imagine the market crash, and at the same moment, your car breaks down. Without cash, you might have to sell your stocks at a huge loss just to pay for the repair. That's a disaster. Cash prevents that. It buys you time and options. If you look at your bank account and your cash doesn't have a clear purpose, you've got a problem. You either have way too much, and it's losing value to inflation, or you don't have nearly enough to protect you when life happens. Now, let's talk about the biggest cash myth out there, the emergency fund. Everyone parrots the same advice. You need 3 to 6 months of living expenses saved. And while that's a decent starting point, it's just a guideline, not a universal law. Treating it like a rule without thinking about your own life is a huge mistake. The real amount you need depends entirely on your personal situation. How stable is your income? A tenured professor with a guaranteed salary needs a much smaller emergency fund than a freelance graphic designer whose income swings wildly from month to month. Do you have kids or other dependents relying on you? That increases the amount of buffer you need. What's your personal tolerance for stress? If the thought of a surprise bill keeps you up at night, you might need a larger cushion just for peace of mind. Rules of thumb are useful, but without context, they just give you a false sense of security. You have to customize your cash strategy to your life. A much smarter way to think about your cash is to divide it into 3 distinct buckets. When you lump all your cash together, it's impossible to know what it's for, and that creates anxiety. The first bucket is your daily operating cash. This is the money in your checking account for your day-to-day bills, rent, groceries, gas, your Netflix subscription. It's the money that flows in and out every month. The second bucket is your emergency buffer. This is the money you absolutely do not touch unless there's a true emergency, like a job loss or a medical crisis. This is your break glass in case of emergency fund. The third bucket is for short-term planned expenses. This is cash you're saving for a specific goal within the next year or two, like a down payment on a car, a vacation, or home repairs. When you separate your cash like this, it brings incredible clarity. You know exactly what each dollar is for. This simple act of organization is one of the most powerful things you can do to reduce financial panic. While not having enough cash is risky, having too much of it is also a silent wealth killer. It might feel safe sitting there in your savings account, but that safety is an illusion. Every single day, inflation is quietly eating away at its value. Your $100 today will buy you less stuff next year, and even less the year after that. Safety without any growth is just a slow decay. Often, a huge pile of cash isn't a sign of caution. It's a sign of procrastination. It means you're putting off the decision to invest it and put it to work. Cash is meant to be a waiting room, not a permanent home. It should be waiting for a specific purpose, whether that is to cover an emergency or to be deployed into an investment, not hiding from the world forever. So if cash isn't an investment, where should you actually keep it? The answer is simple. It belongs in places that are highly liquid and extremely low risk. We're talking about high-yield savings accounts, money market funds, or short-term government bonds. The number one priority for your cash is accessibility. You need to be able to get to it quickly and easily without worrying about its value suddenly dropping. This means it does not belong under your mattress, where it's losing to inflation and isn't safe. And it definitely doesn't belong in speculative assets like a volatile cryptocurrency or a single, risky stock. You're not trying to get a high return on your cash. You're trying to preserve its value and ensure it's there when you need it. Remember its job, insurance and accessibility, not performance. Finally, let's connect this all back to building real wealth. Having the right amount of cash, organized in the right way, actually makes you a much better investor. It's the secret ingredient. When you have that solid cash buffer, you're less emotional about the stock market's daily ups and downs. A market dip doesn't send you into a panic because you know your daily life isn't affected. You're not tempted to sell your investments at the bottom because you don't need the money. You can afford to be patient and let your long-term strategy play out. You literally sleep better at night. Cash itself won't make you wealthy, but it protects the process that does. It provides the stability that allows your investments to grow, compound, and build your fortune over time. So let's rethink how we see our cash. It's not lazy money, and it's not trash. When used correctly, it's a tool of strategic restraint. It's the foundation that makes everything else possible. If you've taken the time to define what your cash is for, drop a comment below and let me know. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more tips on building a stable financial life.